Welcome back. So will the country be able to afford the proposed basic universal income grant? Well, the business community doesn't think so, and let's find out why. The president of the Business Unity South Africa is Bonang Mohale, and he is also the Chancellor of the University of the Free State. Joins us now for this conversation. Mr. Mohale, thank you for making time. Why are you against this idea of a basic income grant as Busa, especially now in this context of our economy?
Clement Manyathela, thank you for having me. Of course, when one considers the huge inequality in terms of income, wealth, and assets, of course, business supports the basic income grant. Unfortunately, we can't afford it, especially now, for a number of reasons. You see, leadership is not about being popular. It's not even about doing things right. It's about doing the right things. If we're to implement the basic income grant as currently conceived, we will all be complicit in having killed the economy of this country and being reckless in the extreme. So let's start first with the economic growth that is just not there, at very best, pedestrian. So 2 weeks ago, the statistician general tells us that the economy at the end of the second quarter has grown positive 1.2% GDP. That's good news. We take it 2 consecutive quarters. It means we're out of the recession. However, when one considers that the population growth is 1.6%, you can see that actually we are going backwards. If you do some crude arithmetic with me, and you say the interest rate is 6%, CPI, inflation I'm talking about, is 3%. It stands to reason, therefore, that the GDP growth has to be at least 3% for us to stand still, not the current 1.2%. But also, it is jobless growth. What we need more than anything else is to address the stubbornly high levels of unemployment that then lead to increasing levels of poverty and increasing levels of inequality. And you do that best when you create growth in the economy. At the moment, it's eluding us. But also, we're not even taking advantage of the commodities super cycle, driven mostly by mining, to make hay whilst the sun shines. As soon as we tax these companies, we spend the money. Yeah. As if that's not enough. Clement, remember that this does not include the 2 weeks in July of rampant looting. It does not include the Transnet cyber attack. It does not include the Durban port that is now the third from the bottom. Because these happened in July, they'll only reflect in the Q3 numbers. They are likely to wipe off these gains that we have actually registered.
Yeah, is it your view, Mr. Mohale, that the policy would jeopardize other programs? Because we've got the existing grants. Do you think they will have to cut spending on healthcare, on education, on security? Because people will argue that this has the potential to help a lot of households that still live below the poverty line, a lot of people that are unemployed. It gives them buying power, and when you've got that buying power, there exists an opportunity for them to escape that poverty and ultimately contribute towards the economy.
But you see, Clement Manyathela, we are already reprioritizing to be able to afford the 500 billion socio-economic stimulus as a result of the pandemic. Number 2, we are already stealing and taking away from health, from education, even from school nutrition programs to be able to afford the 350 temporary relief. When the president announced this, 16 million people applied. We are ultimately awarded to 5.6 million people. So you can see the math doesn't add up. Pre-COVID, only 16 million are gainfully employed. 17 million on social security. You add the 5.6 million, that's 24 million as opposed to 16 million that were employed. We have already lost 1 million jobs just in the pandemic. Today is day number 551 since the national lockdown. But each time Eskom switches off the lights, the effect to the economy is 1 billion to 2 billion a day, every day. It wipes off an entire percentage from the GDP. The new Minister of Finance, Ino Godongwana, tells us that we'll only recover from the 2 weeks in July of rampant looting in 2023. And when it is said by politicians, you can double that. But also he says, we have probably wiped off an entire percentage points. So for me, I think the numbers are actually quite grave. 9 million young people are not in employment, education and training. 11.9 million people are unemployed. 6 million young people don't know their fathers. Only 30% of households have a mother and a father. In fact, when you look at how dire we are, this is the time for us to be prudent, to really, as the social partners, driven by business that employs 16.5 million people, as opposed to government that employs 2.3 million in all three spheres of government, to say, long term, how can we build the required sustainability in the short term whilst we look at building this long-term resilience? Because in South Africa, like in Africa, resilience surely must be much more than the food, energy, water nexus. Ntate Manyathela.
Bonang Mohale, thank you so much for making time. That's the president of the Business Unity South Africa.